Coinbase actually being victim of cybercrimes. So this is from Twitter. There's this post that was made by Coinbase. It says cybercriminals bribed and recruited rogue overseas support agents to pull personal data on less than 1% of Coinbase MTUs. No passwords, private keys, or funds were exposed. So it looks like our money is fine. But if you live overseas and you're a Coinbase user, then this is more than likely affecting you. I'm a Coinbase user, you're a Coinbase user. I don't think we've gotten an email saying, hey, your data was exposed. So if you live in America, if you live in the West, there's a good chance that maybe you're not affected.
Yeah, and I think the important part here that they said is they're going to reimburse impacted customers, because I think it was a phishing kind of scam.
Yeah.
And that data.
Okay, so there's this post from Brian where he kind of just openly talks about like the situation. I'm going to play it real quick. It's going to be double the speed.
Hey everyone, I want to make you aware of a disturbing email that we received recently at Coinbase. It was a ransom note demanding $20 million in Bitcoin in exchange for these attackers not releasing some information they claim to have obtained on our customers. Now, we like to do things transparently here at Coinbase, and so I'm going to respond publicly to these attackers by saying, no, we are not going to pay your ransom. In fact, I have a few next steps in mind I'm going to share at the end of this video.
Yeah.
But for the rest of you watching, wondering what happened, we did an investigation here, and these attackers have been approaching our overseas customer support agents, looking for a weak link, someone who would accept a bribe in exchange for sharing some customer information with them. Now, our support tools have limited access to customer information. There was no passwords or private keys or funds accessed as part of this. But customer support agents do have access to personal information like name, date of birth, address, etc. And attackers still want access to this information because it allows them to conduct social engineering attacks where they can call our customers impersonating Coinbase customer support and try to trick them into sending their funds to the attacker. Now, unfortunately, they were able to find a few bad apples. Our systems are designed to mitigate the impact of something like this, so less than 1% of our monthly transacting users had their records accessed, but this is still unacceptable. And I want to tell you what we're doing about it. So first, any customers that were socially engineered as a result of this incident, we're going to reimburse them. There's more details on our website, on our blog post about the
big move.
Yeah,
to, reimburse them. I wonder if it's covered under their cybercrime insurance, though.
Yeah, so Coinbase as a central exchange does have a partnership with, I'm not sure what provider, but they do have, that's how they're able to provide insurance. Setting up any kind of insurance business does have a lot, and I mean a lot of litigation, a lot of things you need to get licenses with and comply with the law. So what businesses do is they partner with a provider, kind of like with MoonPay with a custodial wallet, self-custody wallet like Phantom. Otherwise, Phantom would become an exchange. So here, I think, reimbursing your customers, it's something that should already be done. We're starting social market. If we were to affect our customers, we would want to at least do something to that extent as well, because customers are what make companies. Customers are what, we want to focus on helping them, the problem that they're having. So Coinbase here and Brian Armstrong are showing exceptional leadership. I don't think I'm going to play the rest because you kind of get the gist. One thing he did say in the end, though, is that he is putting $20 million. Instead of paying that amount of money to the hackers, they're going to give that to anyone who has a lead on them to lead to an arrest. Yeah, so here, if we look at the comments, everyone pretty much, you can read these comments on your own if you'd want, but a lot of them are, just talking. Well, there's this meme, but I'll get to it in a moment. Everyone is praising him. We're seeing a little bit of mixed feelings, a little bit here and there for the most part. So for in this post, for example, amazing offer. Coinbase gets cheap labor and you get kidnapped. So that's kind of like the biggest issue that we're seeing, that in France this week, which, somebody was getting kidnapped because we're not going to cover it because it's not as a big story. Well, it kind of is, but we have all the big stories we want to talk about. So since people were getting kidnapped in France, now that's an existing fear that people have, especially overseas. It's more common overseas than I think it's in America, especially happening in bright daylight.
Yeah, also the problem that I have with the cheap labor is, even if it was America, the person, somebody would have been social engineered, somebody would have taken a bribe and still done it. Like, I like the meme, but also I don't think, humans are fallible no matter where they are in the world.
Yeah, they are. People are people, and lives are precious. So Coinbase released this statement on their blog personal site talking about the extortion, talking about everything. So we're going to leave that link in the description as well. You can read more of it on your own. Now, this is everything we're going to share, but we were looking on Twitter more, trying to learn, hey, you know what's happening really? Is there anything new that's coming out in regards to this hack? So famous influencer on the crypto space, Wendy O, she said that, hey, this hack is a lot worse than what was reported initially. They knew what the right path was, but chose to profit over their loyal customers. Typical of corporate America, but it doesn't make it right. So that's a very polarizing comment. So I had to dive in deeper. And Ariel Jivner, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's a Web3 lawyer, which you don't see a lot of those in the space, but I guess slowly you're starting to. So she did a thorough investigation. The SEC actually did come out with some of these things I'm about to show you was actually filed with the SEC, and I'll put her whole thread here on the description as well for you to read. But people are terrified. If we look at this post that was probably sent from Telegram. Hey Ariel, I was notified this morning that I was in the 1% of the Coinbase data. It is my on and off ramp. My license, my home address, bank info, amongst other things were leaked. I'm afraid that I or my kids will become a target. Is there anything I can do here? So, I mean, as the comment says, Ariel responds. You can read that on your own if you'd like. And here you can see kind of everything. So, what I want to highlight real quick here as a last closing point is banks are required to file any hacking of any clientele information within 36 hours. For businesses in America, it's 60 days. So there's that window. And one comment that someone said was, hey, where should crypto fall on this hand? Because it kind of mixes between crypto, like money, and business. So we're kind of still early with that. And this is part of like the demand that we need for, regulatory frameworks that can help both businesses and consumers be protected, because this is why everyone's losing their money and information.
Yeah, I think the comment of like, they put profits over people is just polarizing, because I think Coinbase did everything right. Like in the end, like they disclosed it, like, we started talking about it. It's, they found out the 11th, and then they said something yesterday. So from the 11th to the 15th.
Yeah. So this was reported to be out on the 11th, and then just yesterday, the 15th, as of recording this video, it's Friday. So on Thursday, that's where Brian Armstrong came out. Coinbase came out about it, the leak.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a fair timeline. Like, you have to investigate, you have to figure out who it is, you have to notify the FBI, you have to, do all of that. Like, if they had that. Like, I do think that it shouldn't be 60 days. I think it should be less, in general.
Yep.
But I think Coinbase timeline is fair. Like, if they would have told us 36 hours after, like most banks have to, I bet you they would have just said, hey, we had a breach and some customers are impacted. They wouldn't have known everything by then. Like, they might have said 1% in there, and then, the same thing would have happened. It would have just trickled out over time. But I think they did the right moves. Like, it's the right thing. Maybe putting a bounty on who the actual people are is a little antagonizing for them, but no, I get it. But I understand the fears and worries. Anybody in Europe, anybody really could be a victim of kidnapping. Like, if these folks have crypto and there's a large sum, anywhere they're traveling, like, they could become a target. Even in America, like, it's possible. We just don't see it as often. Like, I don't know. Oh, well, what? There was that streamer. What was that streamer that her house got broken into for the crypto?
Oh, Amaranth. But that was like a couple of months ago. But yeah, Amaranth.
It does happen. Like, even she is American, right?
She is from where we're from. She's from Texas.
Okay.
So
but like,
she's from
it
Houston.
can happen anywhere.
Yep.
I just think the American's less common so far. But I get their worries. I don't know what Coinbase could have done instead. Like, there's no good answer to that.
Yeah, there really isn't. There's only speculation. I think the very polarizing comment that Wendy made is justified. That was my initial thought as well. But when I read more through it, I heard Leon's thoughts. I became more, centrist on the thought where it's like, okay, well, I can see both sides. I can understand where they're coming from. We're business as well. We're trying to create one at least. So we would do everything we can and try to be as open with our customers as we could.
And they're
So-
reimbursing people. Like,
Yeah.
that's it's not putting them profits. Like, the only other next thing they could have done is give them like a identity theft insurance. Like that's the only thing. But they can't. They're not going to spend money securing every single person. 1% of users. That's still a large number. So I just always kind of see it from the business perspective, because that's where I operate all the time.
Yeah.
Of like, I get it. And then there's definitely businesses that don't handle things right, and I'm like, oh, fuck them.
Yeah, I agree. So Coinbase, I think they're doing decent for now. So let's see what happens. Maybe we'll have more updates next week.